Alright guys, got something a little different today. We are heading up to my friend's house who has a golf cart, which we are going to put a 6-inch lift kit on. A little background is that he's having some engine issues with it, and instead of replacing the engine in kind, he found out he can replace it with a larger Predator engine from Harbor Freight, but because the engine's a little bit taller, he needs the lift to get the clearance he needs from the body and to the frame, I guess. So I haven't seen any of this yet. He just asked me for some help, so we're on our way up there right now, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so here is our platform for today. It is an EZGO golf cart, gas powered obviously, pretty much completely stock. It does have a rear seat on the back that holds 2 people. However, this suspension is pretty much shot if you want to actually put adults on the back of this thing. So, but we're going to fix that. So we're going to start jacking this thing up. It's easier to work front to back, we figured, so we're going to do that. While he's jacking it up, I'm going to take a look at the lift kit he bought. So up front here we got this cross member along with the new tie rod. Then we have the new front springs over here, and then we've got the shocks, which are kind of coilover shocks, and the rear leaf springs. And it also came with all the hardware we need, which is really nice. So this front cross member right here, not only is it going to help us lift it, but it's also going to bring these front tires forward so you can get more clearance for the tire there. And the reason we're going to need that clearance is because look at these monster wheels and tires compared to the stock ones. They are just absolutely huge. So while I'm over there videotaping the tires, we already have the front tires off, and we can start disassembling the existing front cross member. Once we get this cross member out, we're going to have to take some of the steering components and transfer it over to the new cross member that's going in. So once we get that stuff transferred over, we have to work on getting the stock leaf springs out. So the problem is the inner bolts from these, you had to pull up this rubber mat, and which we had to remove this trim, which the bolts were completely corroded. But once we got them off, we were able to get access to the other side of those bolts and get the stock leaf springs off. Now getting to the top of the shocks is a whole nother story. These things were buried up where you can't even get a wrench on them. But eventually we were able to figure it out and start the reassembly process. So here's the full front redone. So we have the cross member here with the steering pump on top of it. We got the shocks put in, and they bolt right on top of that cross member as well. And then these are the new brackets that help move that tire forward. And then we have the new longer tie rod so we can actually steer the thing. So with the front done, we got to move onto the rear. Once we started working on the rear is when I realized why this lift kit makes sense. So this engine that's in here, it actually sits on the rear subframe, kind of like a swing arm. So as you raise the suspension up, the body gets further away from the engine. So as you can see, we jacked up the body and the axle droops, and so does the engine. So that makes a lot more sense now that I can get my eyes on how this thing is assembled. And now that I understand how it works, I wanted to demonstrate to you guys how the engine moves with the rear axle. Purely demonstration. But the rear is pretty straightforward. You put the new leaf springs in, you put the new shocks in, and we bolt up the new tires. Now let's take a look at the final product. Look at this thing. It is absolutely ridiculous. Awesome, but ridiculous. So now that the lift's on, let's take it for a test drive. So overall, I'd say this was successful. We got this thing back on the road, path, trail, whatever. And it's running great. Overall, it's a pretty easy process. All bolt-on stuff. The kit was pretty complete. It did take the better part of the day, but here we are driving it around. So next up, we're going to add the Harbor Freight engine to it, and that will add a whole lot more power to this thing. But either way, it's fun to drive. It's super ridiculous. You're up so high in this thing, but who wants practical things anyway, right? As always, thank you guys for watching. Until next time.